We're just a few months into the Biden administration, and I'm already worried for a number of different reasons about the various ways the Democrats might botch the whole thing and then end up losing the midterms. History says there's a good chance they're gonna do so no matter what happens. But I wanna focus today on a particular way that they may sort of needlessly own goal themselves and not appeal to a group that has delivered for them in election after election recently. And we are joined once again to talk about this. Very lucky to be joined by the author of Tio Bernie and the senior advisor for Bernie Sanders for president 2020 and 2016. Chuck Rocha returns to the show. Chuck, how's it going?
Good to be here.
Good to be here. So I'm very glad to have you here. I mean, so you wrote an op-ed recently. And you talked there about something that we've had a few conversations about, which is Democratic outreach to Latino voters. We've now had a few months. We're still quite a ways off from the midterms, but are you already getting a little bit nervous about this area?
I am, and I'm getting nervous because you already see Republicans running Spanish language ads in places like Nevada, where we have to defend a Latina who serves in the US Congress right now, Catherine Cortez Matstos. I also get nervous because I am worried that every time these elections happen, they talk about, they being the Democrats and even progressives at that matter, that they're gonna prioritize the Latino vote and work early. And so I have yet to see that. Yes, it is still early, but I have seen more conversations. Am I worried? Yes. Am I optimistic? Also, yes. But I worry that we're fighting against history, which is your point. At no time has a incumbency in the presidency, which is controlled by the Democrats, ever led to picking up seats in the House and the Senate. And what really worries me, and I said this in the op-ed, is in the Senate and House races in particular, they run through states and districts with heavy Latino populations.
So the history doesn't look great, but what you just pointed out, the fact that this is where a lot of these races are gonna be held, that is an opportunity though, right? Because we saw in the last election, the last few elections, that this community has, they've come out, they've been politically engaged. What I'm wondering about is, we've already had one big piece of legislation, the COVID aid bill that has passed. Now we have the infrastructure bill. Are you seeing the success they've already had in passing one, or the ramp up to the second being advertised as things that Latino voters should be excited about or interested in?
Well, Latino voters are very excited about COVID relief. When we went out and talked to 1,500 Latinos as part of this research, the number one issue was COVID relief. So Democrats, good job, you knocked that out of the ballpark. But only if you go to those districts and own the issue and say, you delivered this, you're the ones who did. And also say, every Republican voted against sending you this check. We should be a lot better at ringing our own bell, at blowing our own horn, and telling working class Americans, especially working class Latinos, that you are the reason they got this check. And as we transfer into infrastructure, saying we're the ones wanting to fix your roads and bridges and give you access to the internet, while Republicans are against that. Democrats need to get a lot tougher. I talk about this all the time. As a dirt road Democrat from East Texas, a Latino, a Mexican redneck, you got to get out there in front of the Republicans and go, this is your brain and this is your brain on Republicans.
That's pretty good. So look, those are some things that they should be talking about. They should be campaigning on. You were talking there about the fact that Republicans are already running some Spanish language ads. What are they choosing to focus on so far?
This will be shocking, but they are tying the senator in Nevada to Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the liberal left. Like, this is just, you can wind the dial up and pull the string. It's gonna say the same thing every time. But if you get out in front of working class folks and go, those folks just sent you a check. These folks over here all voted against sending you a check. These folks over here want to fix your roads and bridges. These folks over here are just worried about their rich donors. I just see it time and time again. And in the last election cycle, we ran one ad after another talking about pre-existing conditions, bland ads. Let's put real stories of real people in English and in Spanish on TV, on the radio, on digital, saying what those checks mean to them. My son, who's a single father, who has twin 4-year-olds, the two prettiest little Rocha boys you've ever seen, which are my grandsons, just got $7 grand. $7 grand, his income tax plus his COVID relief, that was a big boost for him. And guess what? That's $7,000 less dollars that old Daddy-O here has to give him. So it even helped me, and I ain't in the bracket.
And so that's obviously a great aid to that family, and you can that's thousands of times over, hundreds of thousands of times over. But as you said, they have to make sure that people know it was them that delivered on it, that Republicans opposed it, because it's probably too early to see this in the Spanish language ads. But there have been a couple instances, Chuck, where Republicans have tried to pretend that they supported it, Senator Johnson was talking about how great some of it was. Madison Cawthorn was talking about money coming back to his district. They voted against it. Do you think that if the Democrats don't stake a claim on these successes, do you think that you might see some of that attempting to hoodwink Latino voters about who's actually brought this money home?
Yep, and you can see that now if you start watching some of these special elections that's going to happen in the next few months. The Texas 6th congressional district where Republican congressman died of COVID. There's going to be a special election there May 1st, a runoff on May the 25th. There's a special election in New Mexico 1. All these places have big Latino populations. Watch the messaging coming out of both parties there because it's a precursor of what's going to happen in November.
And by the way, in a special election where it is happening because the person died of COVID, they have to understand where the different parties stand on COVID and COVID aid. There's no excuse to not.
And I'll just throw in, and we're running against the wife of the deceased member of Congress.
Yeah, so look, that obviously that's difficult. A lot of people have lost family. I've lost family. It's difficult. That does complicate things. But there was one other topic I wanted to talk to you about, and that is that we are seeing legislation being introduced in state houses across the country and passed in some, including Georgia, to try to make it so that certain sorts of people, black and brown people, have a harder time voting. Is that something that you think the Democrats should focus on as an issue, the sort of standing to protect democracy in some of these states?
I do. I see it as winning election across the board. When you're talking about the right to vote, it's a Democrat, not a Republican, not independent. It's a good issue to get on, and it's one that we should be championing at every turn.
Any other advice for Democrats on what they can be doing to try to appeal to this community this far out, not wait until the last couple of months before the midterms?
Own the positive, call out the hate and the deceit on the other side, make them own it. Do not be scared to get out and be tough. And when I mean tough, that does not mean disrespectful, but Americans are hurting, and they're hurting because they just went through a year of COVID where a lot of people lost their job. They're wondering about where their healthcare is going to come from. Get out there and own your victories. Listen, own your victories and listen to these real stories, then we can win.
I think that's great advice. And really, for the Democrats' sake, I hope they deliver. I hope that they're listening. If you're listening to this and you want to read the op-ed, it's available at the New York Times right now. Look for It's Not Too Early to Start Courting Latino Voters. As always, Chuck, really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule to join us.
Appreciate you.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.